welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Welcome to Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast. I am here with the author of this. It's just a gorgeous book. Like in general, I've said this a few times on the podcast that I'm a huge fan of like the publishers kind of going back to making books look like art, and Ship of
Beautiful.
Spells
Exactly.
looks like art. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
But it's also just a really fun book with a really rich world. So welcome, Leighton Dickson.
Yes.
Let's talk about Ship of Spells. What's
Sure.
it about in your words?
Well, it is a nautical fantasy, clearly. The world, I'm a world builder. So I write fantasy, so I'm a world builder. And that's where I almost always start. So the world in this book is divided at the equator by what's called the dread wall. So it's this massive wall of water that goes straight up for half a league to a league in the air. That divides the world into two. But what's happening is that the dread wall is starting to fall. It's starting to crumble in places, and that's allowing ships to go back and forth. And so, of course, people being people, there's war. So they send ships and they destroy and they shoot and they sink other ships. And this is exactly where we start off. Our main character, Honor Wren, is an ensign blue mage in the oversea navy. So she is a part of the northern hemisphere. And she is on one of these ships that's being attacked by the enemy down under. I don't mean Australia, in Nethersea. And she is basically, the ship is sunk from underneath her. But what the enemy, the Riar, they're called, what they're doing is they are lacing their cannonballs with this rogue magic called chimeric. And so she's the only one left. She's been shipwrecked. She's floating in the ocean, and she is covered in this chimeric. She's covered in this rogue magic that's beginning to eat away at her skin. Then she's rescued from the water by the Ship of Spells. Everybody knows about the Ship of Spells, but hardly anybody ever sees it. And she has heard about it. She wants to be a part of it, but it's captained by one of the enemy, and the ship herself is alive. And neither of them want her on their decks. So the whole story is about her trying to earn her place. Does she want to be there? This is very frustrating, but it's a very rich place for her magic-wise. And can she stop the war, or is she going to make it worse? So that's sort of the plot in a nutshell.
It was a lot of fun. There was just a lot that unfolded. I'm definitely a fan of big casts, and this one had a very big cast of
Sure
really
did.
great characters. So where did the idea of this book come from for you?
Like I said, I've always loved the sea. I live on the shores of Lake Superior, right? So like canoeing and kayaking and friends with sailboats, we sail a lot. We're on the water a lot. But I've had this love of tall ships and nautical life and Master and Commander and Pirates of the Caribbean and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, all those, like romantic ocean type stories. And so I got this idea. It just popped in my head one day, just the title, Ship of Spells. And it's like, ooh, that happens to me a lot when I'm writing. The titles come to me sometimes first. It's just a quirk in the writing process, I guess. So that title came to me. And so, of course, I began to lean into that. I love Star Trek and I love Pirates of the Caribbean. And we've got two captains who love their ships. Captain Kirk loves the Enterprise. Jack Sparrow loves the Black Pearl. What if those ships loved them back? And so that whole idea of a sentient ship began to foster and percolate in my brain. So yeah, if the ships loved them back, well, what would that look like? So I just took that, ran with that, and then Honor Wren kind of being the main grounding fish out of water character. So throw those three, a captain, a sentient ship, and your fish out of water character. It just started to take legs and run.
So I mentioned before we started recording, and this is just for audiences because you can't see this. You have model ships and a ship painting. in your space. Where did this love begin for you?
A great question. My mother, um, when I was growing up, we had a captain's wheel on the wall. And as I would tell myself stories about this captain's wheel. And then we ended up getting a little, like a porthole that was there and a barometer. And she ended up making this whole wall of ships. And it wasn't like ships, but like ship pieces. And that became like a doorway into something in my imagination. So neurodivergent, and so it became a fixation of mine, right? So I began to collect model ships, like really beautiful model ships, and then of course people, once they know that you like something, you are gifted those things. And my brother likes to like thrift shop, so he'll get, hey, I found this really cool model, and yeah, so my home is filled with model ships.
I loved you mentioned you're a world builder, and I loved the
Yeah.
world building. I loved just how, intricate the magic system was
Yes.
in
Yes.
this book. So Honor Wren is a blue mage, which
Yes.
um it sort of describes what her magic skill is.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, how did that all come together for you?
That's a fabulous question, and that has lots of different facets to that. When I wrote the first draft, it was just kind of loose magic. It was I do like I like grounded magic, but this really was like more soft magic. And then when I was doing in the editing process with my agent, they're like, "Okay, we need to nail down this magic system," and I'm like, "Why?" Well, no, it's too hard. And we did. We fleshed it out, we worked it out. And for me, the inspiration was music. Because for me, I love music. I can't play a thing, but I love music. And for me, that's magic. You can be good at it, you can be a prodigy. You can just like Mozart, you come out of the womb and you can play something. Or you can learn it, right? You can maybe have no talent, but you learn it and you become really good. If you have talent and you are taught, that's a fabulous musician and you can make symphonies. And so I began to think of magic in that same way. And the same way, like almost all magic has to do with your hands, speaking and your hands, right? But almost all music has to do with your hands. You're playing something, you're fingering a woodwind, it's very tactile. So the magic in this world is very tactile, and they're having to do the patterns, they're drawing it, they're pulling it. So yeah, for me, very much inspired by music. And then you can either create something beautiful or create something terrible and destructive. So that was a really fun way to play with that. And I credit my agent for kicking me in the butt to make me do that.
Very, very
There you go.
cool. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. I really just, it was very easy to picture the casters casting their
Right.
spells this
Excellent.
way. Yeah, it was really, really easy. I liked also just sort of how the characters related to each other. Honor Wren, she's very stubborn,
Yep. Yep.
and she comes across a lot of other very stubborn characters.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
was
Yeah.
fun to see them really interact. When you write, are you like coming from a place where you know automatically what happens in the story, or are you sort of dropped into it with the character?
That's yeah, the whole plotting and pantsing dilemma, right? I'm a little bit of both. I think I generally start off pantsing. I have the idea and I want to run with it. I want to get the voices of the characters in my head first and see what they want to do. Once I realize I've got an idea, then I will maybe structure it. I'll plot it out, chapter one, chapter two, chapter three. But I'm always very open to your writing, and all of a sudden you're like, ooh, this character just said that, and like I didn't necessarily mean for them to say something, but it leads you in a completely different direction. So I'm going to run with it, and we just go and we see where we end up. But that's a lot of fun, and I think it's a different process for every single author, right? Some of us are pure pantsers, some of us are pure plotters, but I think we, for the most part, fall in between there somehow.
Most definitely. And I think that there's, a lot there's a lot of just sort of variances in how one sees their characters. And I think the characters themselves sometimes shift the story, or
Yes.
will
Yeah.
just sort of like decide, like you said, they're going in a different direction.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, was there anybody in the story, and I don't want to give anything away, who was hiding more for you than other characters?
Ooh, super. I, like it's sort of a minor character, the character of Neil, the character that she hates, and he hates her, and she hates, and but he's a minor character. It's not the captain. Like that's we're definitely going there with the captain, but with Neil, why does he hate her? Why is he making her life miserable? He's jealous. He's insecure, and he was literally just like a throwaway character. But he had a character arc, which was really fun to explore. And by the end of it, like they're raising a glass together, right? And that felt really good. Her and Smoke, like they're locking heads. She admires him. He frustrates her. He has his character arc and his secrets that we find out. And like, oh my goodness, did he just do that thing? And then again, no spoilers, but just his whole story was so much fun. And then his relationship with Echo changed as well because they were not originally a couple, but they are now in this book. So that changed over the revision process. So because I loved their dynamic together. So they really do take on lives of their own, and you can tell them that they're going somewhere, but you're just really dependent on their whims.
So, um, are you planning for this to be a real expansive series? Do you know roughly how many books it would take to sort of tell the story?
This story, it is a duology. I'm
Okay.
contracted for a duology. So this particular story ends. If it does well, and if people love more, I would be very, very happy to stay in the world for a little while longer. I would love to tell Dev's story because I have a plan for Dev. I would love to tell some of the backstory, the history. What was the touchstone? What was the rune tree? How did the Dreadwall get raised? What happened to that little girl from Bilgetown? Like, there's all kinds of things I would love to explore in this world. So who knows? Maybe novellas, maybe other full novels. I don't know. We'll just see how well it does.
Well, I hope it does do well because, again, like I said, it really is a fun, beautiful book. I really just enjoyed being in that world.
Yeah.
I felt the air on my skin and smelled
Yay.
the
Yeah.
the
Salt
salt
and the
in the,
fish. And
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, really, and that's really just the mark of a really good book. What are some of your favorite, not just nautical, but like just
Yeah.
like stories and magic systems in general? Like what have you experienced that you really love
In terms of books, you mean, or
in terms of
just
anything?
anything interesting? Oh man, I love media. I love the imagination. I love a really good movie. I love a really good book. I love a really well-crafted television show. The common denominator is has to be well written because otherwise I'm like I could do better, but like Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, I love that movie so much. Lord of the Rings, I love that movie. When it comes to books, I love Guy Gavriel Kay. He's a high fantasy writer. He's a historical fiction writer with a fantastical twist. That's what he's told me. He prefers historical fiction with a fantastical twist. So I love alternate timelines. I love playing with imagination and the what if airships, like ships could fly? What if, like the Bilgetown, what if you had a city that was literally on the water, made of ships on the water? So I love to explore. And there's been really great media and movies and TV shows like that in the last 20 years. So I've just been fed a lot. It's magic systems. Gosh, I do like a hard magic system because I like things to make sense. I'm a science girl, so I like to be able to, oh, that's why, like Brandon Sanderson's Allomancy, like, oh, that's why. I do love Lord of the Rings, but that's more soft magic, right? So it's like, why didn't Gandalf do that? Or why didn't the hawks? Why didn't they take them? So I like a grounded magic system. I did love the Grishaverse. I loved how they all had sort of a role, like same way that ours are blue mages and red mages and gold mages. In Shadow and Bone, like the Grishaverse is like you've got your heartrenders and your I can't remember all the terms right now. Sorry, I'm squirreling. But they all have different disciplines, and I like that kind of magic too because that makes sense to me. So I like it when magic makes sense. I like magic that's visceral and it takes a toll on you. It's not just waving a wand and making a spell. It takes a physical toll because that again makes sense to me.
Thank you so much. I cannot wait to see where this world goes. Do we have a title for
Yay.
this book that you're allowed to say or you're not allowed to say?
I'm not allowed to say yet. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
When will we is it going to be a year, you think?
I would think a year. Yes.
Okay.
It might be 18 months depending on the editing process, but I'm hoping a year. I'm hoping next November would be fabulous. But again, no, I can't dictate that.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This was super fun. Check out Ship of Spells. Like I said, it's just a very pretty book and it's a lot of fun. This was Jessica with Syosset Libraries Turn the Page podcast, and we are going to close the chapter.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.